Good afternoon, everyone. Taking you over here to Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. People killed by hailstorms. They're wondering why the rains aren't returning. Perhaps they're not looking far back enough in time, a 6,000-year cycle. Centering you right here in Eastern Africa. Going to take a look at these three countries through the video: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. Now what's happening and drew my attention here is people were killed from the size of the hail that came down, smashing through their roofs, killing farm animals and humans at the same time, and then afterward massive flash floods. The thing was, this place was in a complete drought, hard-baked ground, so the water had nowhere to go except rush away. But people being hit on the head and killed with hailstones, that's a full step up to what we've seen so far. And the place is bracing for more floods as the cyclone's going to be rolling over in the next day or so. Now, before the cyclone that's going to hit, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, these areas have been into a drought. Food insecurity, governments trying to get UN help. And this article here by Peter Utere. And if you want to know what a visionary looks like, this is one right here. Solutions to the problems, calling it out for what it is: food insecurity, inflation driven by government policies, giving people hope not to get up, that the planting can improve if the rains return. The link's in the description box below the video in case you want to chase this down. Abnormal dryness and the cycle of rain and drought completely out of the norm. Again, this is what we're seeing with the intensification of the grand solar minimum. And I like how Peter spells it out here. Instead of spending billions and billions on mega projects, why don't you bring it back to the community, drill 5,000 boreholes that would give water to the local communities, and that way they could continue with farming. Nope, white elephants got to be put in place, 2 giant hydro dams that will never make any dent into the local population. Peter, great article. I applaud you for saying what you did, and you are truly a visionary that can guide your country out of this. And a quick break from one of the sponsors for tonight's video, Patriot Supply, long-term food storage. Remember, preparing for anything in your life, from smoke alarms in your house to emergency plans if you do have to leave your house, how about your food supply? I mean, you see what's happening in Africa. It's going to happen across the planet, just a matter of time. Grand solar minimums intensifying, and I want to talk about longer duration cycles. But keep in mind, every purchase that you make from Patriot Supply keeps ADAPT 2030 on air and independent, bringing you information just like this. MyPatriotSupply.com/prepare with ADAPT 2030. That link's in the description box as well. But I want to bring you to these PDFs. Incredible insight to what's happening over there, possibly. Peter, also, this is for you, and I was thinking of you after I read your article, how to explain it, what may be happening. Now, when we look at climate change, everybody's only looking in the last 150, 200, 400 years. But what if we're going into a much more powerful, heavier cycle? So I started taking a look around Africa, because in the northern Sahel it's starting to rain a lot more, but where you are in the eastern part of Africa it's starting to dry. So I dug through, and you know what? Right in the middle of the Holocene, 6,000 years ago, it seems that a lot of African monsoon patterns are matching with this mid-Holocene switch and flip. Questions have been asked, why are the rains not returning? Well, if you look at the bottom chart on the left, this is what occurred mid-Holocene. Above is what you're having now. But that is shifting. And everybody's trying to figure out why it's shifting. Well, if we're looking at 1,000-year cycles, multi-1,000-year cycles, it might explain a lot more, especially down in southern Africa, where they can't explain where the water's going either. It's either flooding with typhoons and amazing just deluges, or it's nothing in drought. This explains it right here. These are the cycles that you can expect moving forward. Also, I dug this gem out here. This goes into the exact areas where precipitation would be lacking or forthcoming as we get into these multi-1,000-year cycles. So on the very left, what you're looking at is today's interglacial at the present time. Second from the left, included in the yellow box that I put there, this is what it was 6,000 years ago. This is what it looks like we're transitioning back to. And if you look at the map carefully enough, you'll see that Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya are right in there. And they're going to be getting less and less rainfall in different periods of the year. This would explain why the rains are in the wrong place and not forthcoming. and agriculture is being decimated. We definitely have to go back into multi-millennia cycles to figure this one out. Here's another one. Precipitation patterns. And I know it's just a jumbled mess here, but what we're looking at is the 3,000, 6,000, and 9,000 year intervals on where the rainfall is in certain types of the year. So what I want to do is let's clean that up a little bit, make it easier to discern here. The precipitation anomalies, obviously the bluer it is, the more rain, the more orange and red, the less rain. Top bar is December, January, February, and into March. The bottom bar is the middle of the summer, Northern Hemisphere. June, July, August going into September. You can see again what's happening in Eastern Africa matches perfectly with the 6,000 year interval on this. So if it is indeed governments of the world, do you think they would really warn everybody across the planet that would be marching back into a 6,000 year cycle? 3,000 year cycle? 400 year cycle? This is a society reset button. Welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. And if you're looking for more information like this, mini Ice Age Conversations podcast, Libsyn, iTunes, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you can find a podcast hosted across the net. Choose your favorite provider. And also join me on Minds.com, an alternative to Facebook, free speech. And when you share something, it actually gets shared.